Hi everybody, my name is Janeth Vega and I am proposing a research study on PTSD in firefighters. So first and foremost, the most critical symptoms that firefighters are experiencing today are suicidality, substance abuse, sleep disturbances, depression, and anxiety. I looked at 7 different studies that have already been explored. I found a study in 2020. It explored trauma exposure and post-traumatic stress disorder symptom developed in firefighters using clinical interviews and self-report measures. A study in 2018 investigating the association between post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide ideation. A study also in 2018 which explored the moderating role of distress tolerance in the association between post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms and suicidality in firefighters. A study in 2021 examined the moderating effect of global sleep disturbance, which can include sleep efficiency, perceived sleep quality, and daily disturbances, on the association between PTSD symptoms, severity, and suicide risk among firefighters. In 2006, a study investigated the prevalence of PTSD symptoms in 131 firefighters from the United States. And in 2018, a study explained the prevalent rates of post-traumatic stress disorder and substance use disorders that have been observed in firefighters. So how were these studies conducted? They used clinical assessments, self-reported questionnaires, surveys, and interviews. So a common strength with these studies were face and construct validity. Studies conducted clinical assessments, self-reported questionnaires, large samples of participants, and various collections of data that measured PTSD symptoms. A commonality in limiting research is the lack of diversity of participants and the length of research. So a lot of these studies suggested that it should have been a longitudinal design. So after reading all the studies, I came up with this research question. So why is it that firefighters are experiencing PTSD symptoms under support programs? So post-traumatic stress disorder is a very prevalent issue that has been studied sufficiently and requires further examination through research, being the case that fire departments throughout the United States have already implemented support programs for firefighters. It's obvious that firefighters are still experiencing PTSD symptoms under these programs. So the lack of understanding of continued PTSD symptoms by some firefighters that already use support programs would be the gap that this research would answer. So my hypothesis is, despite the implementation of support programs, firefighters continue to experience critical symptoms of PTSD, suicidality, substance abuse, sleep disturbances, depression, and anxiety. My research hypothesis is that support systems for firefighters need to be enhanced. So my study design is a qualitative method, would be appropriately aligned to the study due to the fact that it's a misunderstood phenomenon, which is continued PTSD symptoms in firefighters in spite of nationwide support programs. Exploring firefighters' perceptions of the causes of PTSD symptoms within certain fire departments would turn out to be very complex. This would be concerned with how the complexities of firefighters' PTSD symptoms unfold on a daily basis with fire departments that use support programs. For a qualitative study design, I will be using a data collection approach like interviews, observations, and relevant documents. This includes incident reports and any other information that is in certain firefighters' documents. So I will be using 300 trauma-exposed firefighters in the United States, all whom pertain to diverse ethnic and racial backgrounds, ages 18 to 55, and all genders. So the method are 2 interviews. The first interview is a review that will basically go over incident reports. The second interview will involve asking open-ended questions to converse with the participants and collect illicit data about PTSD and its symptoms. This can be observations that are made by the psychologists. Lastly, the research will be longitudinal design. Interviews will take place 4 times a year. So this could be every 3 months until the year is over. And this would be for a length of 10 years. And this is obviously to track firefighters' stress and health over time. So I found nominal and ordinal variables. Nominal variables in the research will be sex, race, and marital status. Ordinal variables will include years of experience. This can be 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20, and 20 plus. So measuring variables. Years of experience is a valid assessment for PTSD. If we were to measure the years of experience with the amount of trauma exposure, then it would be an accurate way to measure the likelihood of developing PTSD as time progresses. If we interview select trauma-exposed firefighters 4 times a year for a period of 10 years, the PTSD symptoms scale would yield a relatively consistent measure. So some strengths in this research is the fact that it's a longitudinal design, and we can see whether PTSD symptoms develop over the years or whether they decrease. So some limits were if participants choose not to participate as time goes on, if firefighters quit or retire before the 10 years, this can even include death. So the next step in my research, I would propose an experimental design. I realized that now already having certain support programs, that it would be a better research to manipulate the different types of support programs that could be useful to firefighters. For instance, this could be group therapy, psychotherapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. As a result, there would be a clear understanding as to which type of support program works best for firefighters who are at risk of developing PTSD and symptoms. And that is the end of my research proposal. I hope you guys enjoyed.